I wanted to talk about the Dolphins secondary for a second. I think it's a very fascinating thing as it has had some very good years, but was obviously not very good last season. These are the key players heading into the 2023 NFL season. Obviously, Jalen Ramsey is the big addition as they traded for him. Didn't have to give up much for him. What you see next to their names, that is where PFF ranked them in their specific positional categories. So PFF loves Jalen Ramsey. Who doesn't love Jalen Ramsey? I guess plenty of people don't. But in terms of who doesn't love his game, I think most people love his game. I love his game. I think he's the best corner in football right now, I would probably say. I haven't done a full list but he's very much debatably the best corner in football. So obviously adding him is going to help, and it's also worth mentioning, something that's just worth mentioning with this video in general, is the Vic Fangio addition. Fangio, former head coach of the Broncos, but longtime elite defensive coordinator, and so you think that he's going to do what he can to get the most out of these players, which might be important when we talk about the next guy on this list, Xavien Howard. You see, Howard was ranked 79th in football according to PFF. And again, I know PFF is not everyone's cup of tea. I think they're solid. We always argue about it in the comments. That's fine. All right. Agree to disagree. But I think they're pretty good. I think they're more often right than wrong. And, for Howard, if you believe that he was the 79th corner in football, which I don't know, I watched a good amount of tape last year. I wasn't overly impressed with his performance last season, but I have been impressed with him in previous seasons. If you look at his PFF grades over his career, again, if you trust PFF, then you would say, hey, it actually seems like more often than not he's okay as opposed to great. He only has one great graded system in his career. That was 2020. Obviously, he has a 10 interception season to his name. There's no shame in that whatsoever. But what happened last year to post a sub 60 grade? Again, remember, 60 is what they consider average. So a below average grade is, not ideal, obviously. And again, he's been a pretty consistently solid player, though, throughout the course of his career. That's worth noting. With the exception of 2019, where he only had 322 snaps, he's been above 60 graded player and at times an above 70 graded player. That's still a valuable piece, but maybe not the elite number one corner that he was in 2020. So what happened in 2021? Well, this play can show just a theory I have about it, where you see where he is on the field. It's going to be a one-on-one matchup. There's just a single safety deep. This is what Miami did a lot last year, but you might counter that by saying, well, this is what Miami does a lot, period, is they have a lot of one-on-one matchups. Howard's whole career, basically, it has been one-on-one matchups. So that's not really a fair thing to bring up in terms of why things went wrong last year. And that's true. It's not. But watch what happens here. Look at how when Herbert takes the snap, you're going to see him run a play action, eventually makes a really good throw. Was it perfect defense from Howard? No, but I have a hard time highly criticizing Howard for that. Maybe could have been better at making sure that the receiver was touched after he made the catch. But other than that, there's not a ton of criticisms. Again, kind of turned back to the ball a little bit early. But one of the things I've talked about is, when receivers are in man, and when corners are in man, I should say, you see a little bit more flukiness with their stats, a little bit more flukiness with their performance. It's a position that's already highly fluky, and a big part of it is because it's heavily predicated on competition you go up against. And I don't think it's crazy to think that potentially Howard just kind of had a fluky down year last year and also kind of had a fluky up year in 2020, and his realistic grade should be around 70 if you're a PFF fan, which is still a good grade and valuable, especially when it's a number 2 corner. And when you now are going to be in a situation where for the first time in his career, he's going to have safety help and also a great defensive coordinator. He's had great defensive coordinators before, but, he's also going to have a great defensive coordinator. That should, I think, really help him. And I do think that maybe you could even see, maybe not a 2020 season repeat. Maybe you'll see a better version than the 2021 and 2018 Howard that we've seen. And maybe he'll be, if we're using the PFF grade thing, maybe he'll be a 75 to 80 player, but maybe not quite an 87 player. But back to the chart. And again, one thing I didn't mention, but the guys on the top are corners, guys on the bottom are safeties. There's one key corner that you might be, zeroing in on and saying, how do you say his last name? Kader Kohou? Is that it? Because yes, Kader Kohou is someone who, solid grade last year, right? PFF was a fan, 36th best in football. If you look at his game in and game out statistics, a lot of up and down, really. I mean, again, that's the life of a corner, but especially so for him. I mean, he had his first game where he only played 18 snaps, a grade of over 90. He has grades where he's, kind of almost consistently been below 60, but then he has like an 81 grade in there, another 81 grade in there, a 77 grade in there, and a lot of solid games without having any too terrible games. Only one -50 games. So he's been kind of consistently solid with the occasional awesome game. Watching his tape, I've really been impressed with him. I've been very impressed with him and what he can do. This is an example where it's going to be a one-on-one matchup right here. It's in man coverage. Again, something that, listen, Fangio doesn't do this a ton, but he does do this. Every team does this with these matchups, and if you can win in man, you can probably win in zone, I would think. I mean, it is different. We'll have to see, but still, I was very impressed with him, and watch what he's going to do here. First, as you see, receiver starts to cut towards the middle, and, Kohou is not giving up much separation whatsoever. Also worth noting, this is Garrett Wilson, the, offensive rookie of the year. So not exactly easy competition you're going up against. But when the throw was made, and it was a good throw, it didn't matter as, it was a better defended pass. And so for a number 3 corner, this should work out really well. If Howard can return to form, which I think he will, if you have a situation where Ramsey continues to play well, which I think he will, and now you have Kader Kohou as the number 3 option, you could have 3 great corners, and this could be a lockdown secondary. Not just that, but again, going back to the full list, you see that, okay, Ramsey, Howard, Kohou, great corners. The safety position is still solid, in my opinion. Jevon Holland was amazing as a rookie, was not quite as good last year. No one was quite as good last year. I don't know what exactly happened to that defense. Maybe it was just coaching. That's totally reasonable to think. And again, with, they were great with Flores, not so great last year, but now you're getting another great defensive mind in there. I think that it could kind of, shift things. They've also added Deshaun Elliott, who has just been kind of a consistently solid safety. He's one of those guys I like where it's like, they don't tend to get paid a ton, but you don't need to always pay a safety a ton. Just go out and get someone like him who can just play and you can trust him, and he's not going to be a superstar, but you're not expecting him to be a superstar. So he's someone who I like and think should be pretty solid for them. Brandon Jones, he's fine, I guess. He's really more of a depth guy, but again, for him as a number 3 safety, someone who played 300 snaps and was kind of a fine, I would say above average number 3 safety, I feel like I like him. And I think that I trust what he can do. So for these 3 guys, again, Kohou was an undrafted free agent last year, but really I thought played well. Ramsey and, again, Howard, if they can live up to their potential, which it's corners, it's hard to project. You don't know what's going to happen. But if they can live up to their potential, you could be looking at a great situation. And the reality is, with Bradley Chubb and also Jalen Phillips at the edge rush position, if this defense can live up to their potential I legitimately think is best defense in football. That's their ceiling. And when you already have the ceiling of one of the best offenses in football, this, again, who knows how it's going to work out, but the potential for this Dolphins team is insane. At least that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.